So that 2010 season again, you guys go through and that season had a lot of up and downs. Again, people forget, lose that series to Clemson early. But you guys went on a little bit of a run there, and it's crazy to see the guys that emerged throughout that season. You know, a guy like Whit Merrifield really came into his own. Bobby Haney was an addition that came into his own, and Blake Cooper. I mean, the season he had was just ridiculous. Sam Dyson, what he did, Morales. You know, you go down all these names, but you know, you guys get in the postseason. That Coastal Carolina Super Regionals where it really kicked off. I feel like the magic, at least, of those really back-to-back runs. Christian Walker hitting a ball that still hasn't landed yet to give you guys the lead, and you know, it's funny, man. I've talked to, you know, some of your former teammates, and they say Coastal's probably the best team we played that year.
I agree,
top to bottom. And it seems like that's the consensus. So to go in there and said it's like, dude, it's like 200 degrees. I mean, they've got studs all over the place. Go in their place and get that super regional win. And that feeling of dogpiling to go to Omaha. Again, you hadn't had that feeling in your career at Carolina. And, you know, obviously it ended up being your last year in Garnet and Black. Just describe the emotion, again, of that dogpile and knowing that you've punched your ticket to, you know, the promised land.
I mean, just pure elation, you know, just absolute pure elation is what I would call it. I mean, a big factor for going to South Carolina is going to Omaha. I mean, when I was getting recruited, they had gone 3 years in a row, 2, 3, 4. And that was, you know, one of the reasons that I wanted to come to South Carolina, because I wanted to go to Omaha. And we hadn't gone yet. And, yeah, I mean, I remember the run-in from the bullpen. And most of the time, if you do a dead sprint, 80 yards or however far it is, you're going to be a little winded. Zero at all. I felt like I was running on air the whole way in. Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
And then you get to Omaha again, and I'm sure there's a, you know, like you were kind of saying about Founders Park, there's almost a part of you where it's like you have to take a step back and be like, all right, it's baseball. Like, we got to lock in. I mean, it's, you know, you can get probably taken aback by everything you experience, but you guys go there, and again, to overcome the adversity that 10 team did, losing that first game and that Oklahoma game lasted like 10 hours because of the rain, the lightning delay or whatever. I mean, it's like the most, one of the most miserable days of baseball you can have. You're just like, wishing it would be over.
They had these big coolers of vitamin water, and I probably had like 17 vitamin waters with those 4 or 5 rain delays. It's brutal. But the lightning delays, and
I was going to say that you lose that one though. Just talk about the resiliency of that team, because I mean that was a huge hurt. And like you said, I mean, and it's so funny, man, because what you said, I had Michael Roth on a couple years ago. I chatted with Michael Roth, and he said the same thing. And I'm like, this is the guy that beat Clemson that was instrumental in winning it. And he was like, yeah, man, I'll be honest, after we lost to Oklahoma, I was like, well, this was fun. I'm like, that's Roth though. That's just Roth. Like that entire that attitude or whatever. But coming out the next day, you know, really just taking it to Arizona State. I mean, it just, you know, but I think it speaks to, like, you know, guys like you that were like veteran leaders on that team that, you know, sort of held that thing together, if you will. Because again, you guys could have went 2-Q and that's it. But to find a way to overcome the adversity, and, you know, you beat Arizona State. Obviously, we know JBJ against Oklahoma. You beat Clemson twice, and then you go beat a UCLA team that's literally they're you know, they got 2 guys in the big league still doing it right now, and probably more than that. Just I'm thinking of Cole and Bauer, but just that overall run. I mean, you know, something special. I know I'm stating the obvious, but just something really special.
Yeah, and it was exciting to be a part of it. It was exciting while I was in it, and I think it was interesting because you had to win the game to get the meal money the next day. Because obviously that's not the only reason that we wanted to win. But I remember I think there was an interview that Mike did where the reporter asked him, "What does this game mean to you?" And his first answer was more meal money, which is very indicative of that guy. Just knowing that you're one step closer to something that, you go into the season expecting, but the numbers are so far against you to achieve a national championship. And the resiliency, I think, again, that just speaks to the type of team that we were. You know, we didn't take it super seriously. You know, like we were intense about it. We were intense about our work. We were intense about our preparation. But in the game, it was a game. It was time to play. And I mean, which you go back to the first game against UCLA when Wingo boots a couple balls. And then the third play he makes, and we erupt in sarcastic, ironic cheering in the dugout in the national championship game. You know, so that's
the opposite of being uptight. The opposite of being uptight.
Yeah. Exactly. And it comes from being battle tested. It comes from playing very tough teams at the beginning of the season, non-conference. It comes from an SEC schedule. You know, where I think we've won 21 games, I want to say. Which was good enough for second. You had 21-9 in conference, and you're in second. Seeing them go 2-0 was nice, though. Seeing Florida go 2-0 was nice after they dogpiled on our field.
Yeah.
But it was. I mean, every day was super exciting. You wake up, you're like, all right, cool. Like let's go do something great again today. Let's go get a wonderful steak down the road at one of the many restaurants that we were lucky enough to be close to, and then let's go win another baseball game and you know, see what happens.
And I got to ask you again on the Clemson, the South Carolina Clemson matchup in that 2010 College World Series. I know we talked about the rivalry, but you guys knew the history against Clemson and Omaha specifically. I mean, 2002 did the exact same thing, swept them in Omaha, and I mean, how much there had to be, I had to imagine there had to be so much juice in that one. And they had just taken 2 out of 3 from you in the regular season. You're like, all right, we're about to get our revenge on these guys. And
I mean, you try to just approach it just like it's any other game. It's just not, you know, it's the stakes literally could not be higher, and it's the team that you want to beat the most. So just playing with our backs against the wall against them, I guess, added to it. You know, we needed a spark, which Mike's heroics were that spark. And like, well, once Dyson's on the mound, it's done. Like, that's it. We're good now. You know, with both of those guys, Cooper and Dyson. And I know Sunday was kind of a rotating door, just couldn't really figure out who it was, and not to disrespect any of the guys that got a shot at it. Obviously, I mean, that whole pitching staff was fantastic. Yeah. You know, not a lot of pitching staffs have the bench warmers like myself get drafted because of how good the staff is. So, but I mean, it was a feeling with Coop and Dyson, done deal. Like, we're going to win. Yeah. But we just needed to get back to those guys, and we needed that spark of magic, I guess. That little magic bag that Coach Tanner keeps in his pocket, just to make the right call once again. And it worked. I mean,
I was going to say the Mata Taylor Price on the back end too. I mean, just unreal. Yeah. You get to the 7th, it's like good night. It's over.
Yeah, that's it. Game over. And I mean, and all year, it's you got, you know, at least one at bat against that team's best lefty is taken care of late in the game, and that guy's not going to get a hit. I mean, the list of names that he struck out or got out in his job is pretty impressive, you know, because each SEC team has a big lefty, and essentially all those dudes got neutralized once a game, which is nice to have a bunch of weapons like that. But no, I mean, that going into after we beat Clemson the first game, we knew we were going to win the second one just because they were going to start scrambling. Yeah.
It's funny. Blake Cooper said the same thing to me when I talked to him. He actually put it as, he said they something to the, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, they did not want to play us. We were the team they did not want to see.
Probably. I mean, you don't want to play the team that knows you really well,
right?
You know, and I mean, they were obviously really hot. I don't think they were expected to make it that far. But I remember reading, I want to say like the Omaha Week, whatever the newspaper is locally, and they did a write-up about it and what does this team need to do to win. And they did that for 7 teams. They didn't put us in there, so they left us out. I don't know if that was just an oversight or what, but I don't know how many of our guys were reading the paper But that was an interesting thing. So I guess we weren't supposed to be there either. But it was, I don't know, two forces that were riding their wave. Something had to give, and we got the better of that, which was exciting.
Yeah, and I bring it up because, like you said, you were so close with Roth, and you guys both being in that bullpen and being part of the what you said, the pinch hitter goon squad, as you called it earlier. What?
Yeah. He was my throwing partner too. So
gotcha. Yeah, I only bring it up because like this story, I had I'm just dropping names here left and right, but I had Adam Matthews on the show last year, and he was obviously Roth's roommate. He told a hilarious story though, just about when Roth found out he was starting the Clemson game, or I say found out. Apparently, it was, I guess, Coach Tanner or whoever came by the room, like, hey, you good to go tomorrow? He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, just kind of brushed it off. And then he said that Roth said he got a text the day of, like, hey, best of luck tonight. And he's like, what are you talking about? Why is this different than any other game? And then he finds out he's starting. He's like, okay, like, just whatever. Just like, like the biggest moment of your life, your baseball career, and just like, all right, cool.
Yeah, that's
pretty much it. Pretty par for the course.
I remember getting on the bus because he was my bus seat partner too. Right. And he's like, yeah, I'm starting. I was like, does he want to go home? Like, what are we doing? Obviously joking. And Mike was like, yeah, I guess. Once I head back to Columbia tomorrow. So, I mean, I think the plan was, it was a little more scripted out. Right. I think they were hoping for 2 or 3 for Mike and then piece it together with the 7 guys that, hadn't thrown yet. And because I think Price was down that day too. Which, I mean, as a pitching coach, you go into a game that you need to win and you're like, oh boy, I got to piece some stuff together here, and someone has to step up, and Mike decided to be that guy.
For sure. You go to the finals against UCLA, again, a team that's stacked, loaded, whatever. And you guys take care of business, just flat out the first game, hit around Garrett Cole, which was fun to watch. And it's crazy to think. I know he's not the same exact guy as he was then, but you're like, this is Garrett Cole, dude. This is a stud. I mean, just
Yeah.
And
I remember the scouting report prior from Coach Holbrook. It's like, all right, his fastball is 96 and 99.
God. What?
Okay. Slider's like 87. Like, well, I'm glad, because I only hit against lefties, so I'm glad he's a righty, because I don't have any interest in being in the box with that. But now, I mean, I think we just kind of pecked him to death. He wasn't great at fielding his position at the time, so we bunted, we shortened up, essentially had a 2-strike approach the whole game is what it looked like, and just tried to put the ball in play.
Yeah.
And good things happen, when you try, you're going into it, you're overmatched. So self-awareness is a little key there, and being pragmatic with, like, I'm going into this, I'm probably going to lose this, but I'm going to try to fight tooth and nail to see what I can do. And that kind of speaks to the personality of the team itself, where it's just, I don't want to say scrappy, that's not the right word, but relentless, I guess, would be a better one, a little more positive sounding. And you just peck at something enough, eventually it's going to break. And I think he gave up more runs to us in that game than he did in any other start in his career.
Yeah. And it's like you said, that's what made that 10 team so great, though, is you had the mix of power, but also a team that could go station to station, could beat you a variety of ways. And I'm sure being a college coach right now, you or some of your other coaches, whatever, may tell the guys. I remember coaches that I'd play for specifically that just be like, man, put the ball in play. They're college fielders. I mean, make them make a play. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, the same scenario there. It's like, if nothing else, put the bat on the baseball. But jumping into that second game again, what a game it was. Obviously, we all know the late game heroics, Whit Merrifield, the walk-off to right field, and the last bat at the Blatt. You know what I mean? Literally the last year of Blatt, and you guys walk it off. First national championship ever in the history of the school in a major sport. And obviously first national title for Gamecock baseball, and you close out your career in that type of fashion. I mean, so many things, like so many different variables, but that ping just lives on forever. I mean, off Merrifield's bat. Just again, talk about try to describe, I guess, that rush of emotion, knowing you guys had captured it.
I can't, and I was lucky enough to be part of a state championship game or state championship team my senior year in high school. So I guess I had a habit of winning the last game of at a stop at places. So, but I love my teammates from high school. I love doing that, but the national championship, it just, there are no words. There are no words. Like I'm normally a pretty stoic guy. I don't, I smiled straight for like 10 hours. I've never done that before. Right. At least not then. There's been some big moments since, obviously, but it was fantastic. It was, and I'm at a loss for words to properly describe. I don't have the linguistic capability to describe it, I don't think, but and I think we all knew as soon as we had a runner on third and one of our best hitters up. Yeah. It's like, all right, this is happening. This is happening. This is happening. Holy crap, this is happening. And then as soon the moment of contact, it just, the dugout just exploded.